Hi everyone, this is the very last video we have in our course. As I promised, at the end of the course I will guide you all to build up your own personal website. So here is one of the examples that I'm going to guide you through in this long video. This would be a really long video because I want to build up the whole thing from scratch with all of you in this single video. So you can at least get something out from this course, and then you can also send it to your friends or family and tell them, oh, now you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you even know how to develop a website, right? So as I said, we will leverage the power of Bootstrap in building this website. And the first thing now is let's open up a new folder, the new folder for your personal profile. Save it somewhere you can find it. Otherwise, you cannot send it to your friend, right? So the first thing first is your personal profile have to have an image of you. It can be an avatar. You don't have to show your face, but at least something colorful. So for me, I have a file name photo.jpg, which is how I look. So I will better close it, right? So for every HTML file, we have to create a new file. For example, called the personal profile.html. So the file extension is .html. This one is a blank HTML file. It's okay because we are going to use the template of Bootstrap. If you remember the last video, we copy and paste the starter template of Bootstrap. So let's copy it, save it. Okay, so if we drag and drop our personal profile HTML to a new browser tab, you can immediately see the title is Hello World, and the H1 title is also Hello World. So we want to change to something that that can tell people it's your website. So the first thing first is the title. Let me change to Jeffrey Lee's website. Okay. Jeffrey Lee's website. Save it, hit refresh. You can immediately see something. At least the topic is over there, right? So the next thing is you may want to add a custom CSS file for you to import, for you to create your own CSS styles. Custom CSS.css. And then the first thing is for our website, we don't want a title to stick to the top bar. We want to leave some margin. Like around 25 to 30 pixels. So in the custom CSS, we type body margin 25 pixels. And for me, I always like the color of light blue. You can use your own color, as I taught you how you can use an image, and how you can use another color with a hex code or with a name. So after you add it, remember you have to link it from the HTML. Create an HTML tag, a link tag with a relationship style sheet, and set up the hypertext reference to custom underscore css.css. So it comes only with one element without the closing one. So you save it, and then you go back to your website. Hit now. It's much better. It's much better because we don't want the element to stick to the corner. It looks so tight and too dense. So the next thing is, remember, don't put your custom CSS below above the one from Bootstrap, because as I said, CSS are cascading. If the style sheet from Bootstrap change the margin of the body, it will override it. So I guess I better try it, save it and hit refresh. You see, obviously the style sheet of Bootstrap override my custom CSS, so I have to put it below. I have to put it below the CSS from Bootstrap. Okay, so the next thing is, I would like to have a table. So this is a table. You can see this is a single row, another row, another row, another row, another row, another row. So what we want to do is we go into Bootstrap, search for table. So we have to pick a table that we like the most. Maybe this one looks great, right? This one looks great. Stripped. Let's try this. I'm not sure if it is the same as the one I have, but it's good if we try it, right? Copy it, we paste it. What we want to do is we only want 2 columns. So technically, we don't have to have 4 headers. We don't have to have 4 table data. So let's see. If we save it, okay, it's a bit different, but I'm okay with this, right? So the next thing is, for the first part, I don't want this, and then I want this to be my image. So if we want an image, what we should do is to add img tag with a source. Remember the name of your photo.jpg. Okay, so if you save it, you hit refresh, you can see, oh, this is pretty big. This is pretty big for me. But at least you see an image, right? So in order to make it smaller, remember we can add an ID for the image, and then inside the custom CSS, we can add some style. Okay, because we are using ID, so we need to use a hash, and then the ID is a varchar, curly bracket. Now the image is way too wide, and because the image will keep the width to height ratio, I only need to change the width to 30%. 30%. We can do some trial and error to see. Okay, this looks pretty okay to me. Then maybe a bit. I would like to have it a bit smaller. A trick is to right-click, inspect it, and in this varchar width, I try to diminish it until I find the value that I want. So I want the edge of the image actually align with the text. So 22 looks good. So I go back here, change it to 22, save it, hit refresh. Okay, so it applied. So for the second row, what is my second row? My second row is a name, third row is email and phone. So these 3 rows are intuitive because you only need to change a name, an email, and a phone. And name is Jeffrey Lee. Email is jeffreylee@gmail.com. and my phone number is 65625 and 8666. Okay, let's just create these 3 rows first and hit refresh. Now we can immediately see the information appears, right? And I actually want to do one tricky thing is if people click on my email or click on my phone, they can directly call me or directly email me. This is doable because do you remember we have a tag called the A tag? Okay, if you don't remember, A tag is a tag that can add a hypertext reference attribute and then reference to a website. But apart from going to a website, we can specify the hypertext reference with mail to, and then type in the email address. And if we save it, and then go back to our web page, now you see this email is actually clickable, but clickable doesn't mean anything, right? Because you don't know where it goes. So let's try to click it. When you click it, you immediately see it brings up your mail app in your OS. So for a Mac, it's like a mail app. For Windows, maybe Outlook or maybe other mailing server. So you can see that to part automatically fill in the email. So you can feel free to send email to me, and I'm more than happy to reply you. And if you have any questions, you can just email me. So now let's continue with our project first. Okay, let me close the mail app. And then now for the phone, how about for the phone? Can phone also utilize the A tag? The answer is yes. In a reference, hypertext reference for phone, you just need to change the mail to a telephone. TEL stand for telephone, and then you put the telephone number in it. You save it, go back to this page, and when you click on it, it will ask you whether you want to open a FaceTime app. I'm not sure what will be opened in a window, but at least in a Mac, it works. So another thing is I found out that the table is actually too wide, and let me check how we can string it, right? I don't want to make it so wide. Maybe just 50% is fine, right? Yeah, maybe 50% is fine, but if I goes for 50%, my image will be smaller. So what I want to do is to inspect again in the HTML. So what I want to do is I want everything aligned to the text. So let's see. Looks like this one can be a 27, and for my image, I need to raise it back, right? 27. Oh, this looks good. 27 and 62. Okay, so maybe this part I can change to 27, and this part I can change to 62. And even better is I do a new class called a custom table. And then this is a class of a custom table with a width 27%. And then I don't have to use another HTML attribute, and then I separate the style from our web page as well. So now looks much better. Right? At least when full screen it looks much better. And the next thing is I want to put the whole thing in the middle of the page. How can I put a whole thing in the middle of the page? Okay, so to do this, in a developer world, we have a trick called a container. So we will use a div. Remember, a div is for you to group the logical units. We group the whole HTML body with a div first. We want to make sure it is a single element that I can move around. And then I give an ID called a container. So now, if I add a div and then add an ID and I do not do anything, there will be nothing changed. Because I haven't added any custom CSS into it. To do this, I have to do hash container and then display block margin 0 and auto. So for margin, if you only have 0, that means the top, bottom, left, and right are 0 pixel margin. This applies to the 4 directions. But if you do a 0 auto, the first number is the top and the bottom, and the second are the left and the right. So auto means it will automatically assign the available white space to the left and the to the right, but not the top and the left. Top and the bottom. The top and the bottom will keep 0. So let's try to refresh. Okay, it looks doesn't work. Okay, because we are not setting any width of our container. So the container is still 100% width from left to right, so there are no space for it to arrange it. So if we set at 50% and then save it, okay, it looks much better, but still, I want to do an inspect to know which value would be the best one, right? So if we go for 30 to, I guess 30 is pretty okay, right? Maybe 28. If we go for 28%, the whole thing will be centered. So this much better. At least everything centered. And then the thing is, if you change the container width, your table, you see the table is out of sync again. So you have to keep modifying. But I will leave this as if here. So because this is not too important at this moment for now. And okay. And the next thing is the fourth row. The fourth row, I would like to display my skills. So let me change this to skills. And then I remove all the details. In the skills, I would like to have an unordered list. You see an unordered list showing that I learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the thing I want to do is in the table data, I add a UL and LI. Remember, UL and LI comes in pair. This one is HTML. This one is CSS. And the last one is JavaScript. Okay, looks okay. So but this is a bit dull because it only shows I know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But what are the progress of my learning, right? To do this bar, we can use the progress bar in Bootstrap. So in Bootstrap, they provide bars with the class progress And then inside the progress div, you have another div, which is a progress bar div. So we just need to copy this, paste it to the place where we want. And adjust the width accordingly. So now maybe I say I know 100% of HTML, 90% of CSS, and 70% of JavaScript. So it's that simple for you to add a progress bar. It's just a copy and paste. You don't have to do anything fancy. Okay. So I still want to take a look how I can make the table wider, because it's a bit. Oh, I know why. It's a bit too small for now. Just like what we did. CSS is a kind of trial and error. So you have to be really patient. You have to be really patient. So let me change the table to 78% and container to 44% first. So this is 44% and custom table is 78. Maybe let me bring it back to 100%, right? Bring it back the table to 100%. And then use the container to control the width. Okay, so this one would be a 100%. This one would be a 40%. And then the text is a bit annoying because the text airline is not centered. So okay, so let me add a style over here. Style, text, airline, center. Okay, so when I hit refresh, everything should apply. Yeah. So this now it looks much better because originally the table was too small. And yep, let's continue. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to list out all the awards that I have. So the last part is copy. Again, we copy this new table row, right? Awards as the key, and we clean up the whole thing. So let's take a look. Is it over there? Yeah, it already add. And I want to have collapse. I want to have a collapse so I can display multiple rows of data in it, and with explanation whenever the people open the section. Okay, so let me fix the style. And if I go back to the page, it's not the one. This one is the one I like. Okay, so the remaining part is just changing the text. So of course, after you finish my course, you will get a award of Best Personal Website Award. And then the description is the description is you join create website from scratch with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and learn how to build a personal profile, and of no surprise, you win the award, right? And for the second and for the third one, I will just copy and paste from my example. I will just copy and paste from my example in order to save some time. I know this is a pretty long tutorial, and I have to be quick, otherwise I'm wasting you guys time, right? So the second one is the award of a best tutor. So I guided students to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript from 0 to 1. And the third one is the most important one. Is I'm the best storyteller because why? Because I make up the above two award myself. Of course, I'm not a best tutor, and I did not won any personal website award. But I wish I could. I wish I could be a good tutor, and I wish I can develop a website that can win an award. So after we change all the text, we go back to our page and hit refresh. Now you can see the website is sort of done. You have a H1 title, you have a image to show who you are, and you have the name. Also, the email that can be clicked, and people can send email to you. Also for the phone number, and you display all the skill set that you have and all the awards that you won before. So this is already a pretty good personal web profile for an individual. And yeah, this is pretty much the end of the tutorial, which guide you through developing your own personal profile. But because of the time limit, I can only develop a rough one. I encourage you to spend an afternoon or a morning to polish more and to find out what you can do with Bootstrap or with different styling, and go through what I taught you in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and apply it to your personal website. So at the end, if you can finish your personal profile and send it to your friends, your teachers, your boss, then I would be really happy. And if you feel confident, and if you have any questions, I'm more than welcome. If you can send me your personal profile, so I can give you some feedback, and you can wow me. So this is the end of the course, and if you find this course useful, please leave a review, comments, or share with your friends. And if you find anything I can improve, I know I'm kind of boring, I'm kind of demanding, so please also feel free to email me and let me know. I'm more than happy to learn from the mistakes and do better next time. So at the end, I wish you all have a wonderful coding experience and coding life. Goodbye.